Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today for the APA Swing Pump. We are going to get into the meat and potatoes here real quick, as what we're trying to do today is look at a review of what the markets have done over the previous week and a forecast of things to happen. And then after that is done, we will do kind of more of an open mic type of thing with the audience members that are joining us today, just to talk about all the different markets that we cover. We're going to be covering futures, Forex, and some ETFs. So let's go ahead and get started here. First off, I like to start off on the big time frames, and we are measuring what we're looking at on the weekly chart as we're looking at swing trades. So from this perspective, we've apparently drawn a downwards trend line here. We are popping up here into weekly supply. This is the Epizone software. All the zones in red represent supply. All the zones in green represent demand. Okay, so we are reloading into big time supply, and if we come down here to our daily chart, we can see what we can see. So it's barely just kissed the daily zone, and we can see that it's coming back down. So that is what we're looking at here, and I'm actually going to update the data for just a second, so hold on one second. All right, there we go. That looks a little bit better considering it seems like I remembered that exact same price action happening last week, so that was my first clue. But looking at this, we have the Aussie yen, and well, it's formed a nice, very pretty double top pattern right up here. Okay, touching now the blue zone that's up there to the T. So a very nice double top pattern, and I'm not really going to say anything more about that. If you guys are experts with price action or know about price action trading, double top patterns are very interesting. And it just so happens that this is a double top at supply. So let's think about what could be happening there. Okay, well, I'm not even going to go that far, but needless to say, the market is supposed to push to the downside. So where could it possibly push to the downside at? Okay, well, it could go all the way down here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and circle this little area just to zoom in a little bit. On an entry chart, this is what we would be seeing here. If we were using a 60-minute time frame for entry, we could see something like this happening here. Now, that looks all well and good as price is retesting what we consider resistance, because we're on a small entry chart. This is resistance, not supply. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off the normal APA zones, and I'm going to put on the APA methods just because, well, it's cheating a little bit, but it's a wonderful thing when price action and time and all that kind of good stuff can come together, and the logical patterns of the fractal supply and demand, support and resistance shifting over time works out in wonderful confluence there. So that's what we see happening on the 60-minute time frame, and just really, really cool there. So let us move to our next market. We're still looking for that downwards move on the Aussie yen. Looking at the Aussie dollar, looks like the same thing on the big weekly chart. We have a opportunity to find a retracement here to the upside, so we can continue the downtrend Now, on this particular daily chart, it looks like we have had price failing to break this high here, bouncing off of the big weekly zone. So notice that the APA trender is flat, which represents, we could be getting into some chop, be looking to play the extremes, more so in a range type of fashion when that trender goes flatline like that. So that's what I'm seeing right there. And if we zoom in and circle this area, then zoom in on our small entry chart. Now with the ApaZone software, you can put all three of these time frames into one chart. That's no problem. It's just multiple time frames, but for the sake of everybody following me, just want to make sure it's super clear. So when we circle that that area right there where the high was, you can see the wonderful retest of price action and zones and all that stuff coming to fruition right there. Okay, so pretty cool stuff happening and bouncing off the smaller time frame in the direction of what we consider the large time or the bigger time frame trend. Okay. Also want to draw a trend line to the downside at this point, as we're looking for price to go rip and roaring through here. Now, knowing that the trend is flat gives us an idea of a range in the bigger perspective of a downwards trend move. So that it needs to be carefully situated in your analysis as we are looking to swing trade this stuff from the big daily chart. So the weekly chart gives us an overall idea of context, but the really big context of supply and demand. But the daily chart is where I like to be drawing my overall idea of context with trend. Okay, so I'm defining my trend context off of this daily time frame here. So looking at the Euro Aussie, we can see kind of our previous drawings in the past. We were looking for price to really come up here and touch this yellow zone, but guess what? It stopped just a tick or two before that yellow zone, and it's come down now. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells me a couple different things, okay? So looking at the big time frame, we can see that we've been moving down from the highs, right? And it looks like I had some audio issues here, so sorry about that if that is the case. But it looks like we're moving down from the highs. Okay. And if we're moving down from the highs, we're probably in a downtrend, right? So let's go look here at this daily. And this daily, the trender is green right now. So I'm going to actually give us some more data. So I'm going to go about 5 years back. And as we do so, it's interesting, but not really all that unexpected. We see price is, or the trender, I should say, the trender is actually red as we apply more data to the chart. All right. Now, that's just because of some of the things with the trender. You have to give the trender enough time to warm up. So anyway, looking at that, we're still in this downtrend. Price has failed to break and to touch that yellow zone, which means resistance is holding. Okay. And so then we can go into our smaller time frames to look for those entries. So looking for the downtrend to continue. Since it did not touch this level, this perspective is kind of out of the picture for me right now. And I would be looking for the retest coming down there. Notice that's also a double top. Okay, so we really need to retest this level down here and the consolidation down on the south side of things is really what I'm looking to have happen here over the next week. And we could pop up one more time and then down, but it looks like resistance is now holding on the daily. Okay, so that is a very interesting thing that's occurring right now. All right, so let's go to the euro pound. Euro pound has been in a downtrend. Still defining the context as down here. Now we have popped up just a little bit. We taken out this zone, so we popped up just a little bit. We did not touch the stair step level as I see it, so there's something interesting going on there. And we're pushing down here now. So now the question is this a big pullback and going back up there, or is this going to just continue back down to the lows, right? We are in a downtrend. So that is what's going on there. And we will see what happens, okay? But I feel that right now we're kind of in the middle of nothing here. So I want to be careful on saying, you know, this is a great place to be considering a long or short, because it's kind of in the middle, you know, like we're not at support, we're not at resistance, so it's really just kind of in the middle on our context chart here. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that is how I see this right now. Yes, we did get a pop up to the upside, like what we were looking at in the previous weeks. You know, now was this pop as nearly as big as we wanted it to be? Well, not really, but we are in a downtrend. You know, so it's okay that that hasn't played out exactly like that. You know, we're still trying to run with the trend. Okay. So let's go ahead and move to another one. All right. So looking at the euro yen. All right. So there's the big euro yen weekly chart. You can see that we've kind of retested the top part of this newly formed or actually this would be supply zone. So we can kind of see some type of shift going on there. Okay. And then on the daily chart, we're still in the downtrend, and we're starting to peak up in this range just a little bit. Okay, so I think last week we actually talked about a couple different levels inside of this zone. So we picked out these three levels inside of this big purple daily zone, okay? As far as resistance levels that I'm going to be watching for to continue the trend being down. And guess what happened, folks? It looks like it's bouncing off of that middle zone right there in the big daily time frame. Now, this is pulling from a weekly level, or I'm sorry, an hourly level. Okay, been on the the whatchamacallit, I've been on the weekly and daily so much that I haven't been looking at the smaller 60-minute time frame level. But what we can see is like the 60-minute level. Those three levels are levels that we were watching last week, and so now we kind of see this thing coming to fruition a little bit here, and I just think that's really cool. Like that's just really cool market fractal dynamics playing out over time. Okay, so if we're really in a downtrend, this is a great area to be selling. Okay, now how to get in, where to get in, that stuff's all up to you. You can manage your own trades, but I really like this area. Uh, needs it's very nice. So we just need to be aware of what's going on in the bigger time frame, and let's just say that you're able to take price out of this weekly level when it came up there. First off, I'd want to take a quick little scalp, and then I want to play the range, which if you play the range, you could play the range all the way down to about this point here, because you're in the direction of the trend, and then we would have a make it look good area as well. All right. So now this price action here, this could take a couple months or more to pull out, and the reason being is, well, this is a big daily chart, so if we were really pulling this out as such, look at how many days it took just to do this pop here, like that took a month, so it's very possible that it could take a month or more to get back down there, so or it could do it in a week, boom boom, and you're all the way, you're down there all of a sudden, but I'd rather run with the trend than countering the trend or trying to look for that crazy reversal. So again, that's why we are defining the trend off of this daily time frame here. Okay, last but not least, I'm going to be looking at the pound yen, or I'm sorry, at the dollar yen. And we've kind of been ranging here on the big weekly charts. Okay, so on our daily charts, let's go see what happens. Let's go see what it looks like. All right, so last week, coming into this area, again, I want to kind of go through our review the markets and then forecast the markets and all that kind of good stuff there, right? So looking at this, what can we tell? What has happened since our last week's little drawing session, okay, little forecasting session? Well, we were in the middle of the range because on the weekly charts, we're defining the range as being in between this zone and this zone. Now, remember how we said not all zones are created equally? Well, that's kind of the case here. This is in the middle of the range, all right? So at this point, anything can happen in the middle of the range. The middle of the range isn't really where we want to be playing, all right? So that's my perspective continuing on right now. I still feel like we're in the middle of the range. And waiting for it to break out of that area, right? Now, we did have a little bit of a lower low compared to there, okay? And we've had a little bit of a higher high compared to the previous swing high, okay? But it's still consolidating overall, all right? So I would want to wait on this. But notice that the trender is flat. If we just show the current zones only, you'll see the trender is flat, so the trender knows that we're in a range. I know that we're in a range, and I know what I want to do when I'm playing the range. So, and that's not playing in the middle. So let's go over to CL here. And I believe we have Mr. John Eardley here with us. John, are you there? John, are you there? No, maybe not. All right. Well, I was going to let John go ahead and look at the futures markets. He is a futures trader, and just has this stuff down pat. So, but since he's not there, I'll just continue on. First off, let's gain perspective. Look at the big supply and demand. Okay. Okay, on the weekly chart, this is kind of interesting. On the big weekly chart, we can see price really in a downwards move, and this is really the first area of a pullback. Okay, so we've kind of pulled back to this area before once, and this is a little bit higher. Okay, and looking at I trade this thing as well on a day trade perspective, so looking at it on the big weekly is a whole lot bigger than I'm used to, but I think it's good just to realize what's going on, and I'm just going to go ahead and clear off all of my drawn elements here, just so everything's nice and clean. And we can see the big hammer candle that's happening, or excuse me, shooting star candle that's happening on the weekly time frame. So then on the daily time frame, guess what? We have another shooting star candle right there. And we've had a big push down, and it has taken out some support that we just had put into place. All right. So what is this telling us? Well, I really see that we are in a downtrend, and if we are in the downtrend and our weekly is saying downtrend, the Apitrender is saying downtrend, and we're in resistance, there's one thing that I like to do when we're in resistance and in the middle of a downtrend, and that is to sell. Okay, so I'm looking for price to come back up here just to give price a retest of the highs that it has put into place, but really looking to take it down. Okay, so sorry that I erased everything beforehand. I know that breaking into this level was very interesting because it breaks these three highs over here, that were just outside the level, and we're coming up even higher here. Okay, but this was kind of big with us breaking a daily support zone right there. That is very, very interesting that we did that. Now, yes, it was only by a few ticks. Okay, so you don't want to be shorting right here on the bigger time frames, but you want to have an idea of possibly doing that, but you want to do it where it's high, not where you're going to be selling into support. So I'm still looking for the downwards push to happen, but I want to be aware of this thing's just popped through there. Looks like it's coming back up a little bit, and it might give us a nice confirmation of this big daily zone here before too long. Okay, so looking at the 60-minute time frame, we can see this big level has just been created, and this big consolidation level has just been created, and we've been kind of stair-stepping on that, okay? Coming down, coming down, coming down, all right? So the idea on this chart is that we're going to be selling at a high point and buying back at a low point if we're in the middle of a downtrend. So we want to sell high, buy back low, all right? And that's what I'm looking for. It really is just that simple, okay? So I'm going to be looking for the price action to meet up in that type of a way, all right? Let's go over to the ES here. Now the ES has been in an upwards trend on the big weekly time frame. Stair stepping up, stair stepping, put in a new high here, so that looks good. And on the big daily chart is where we have some of our drawings at, okay? So you can kind of see over the past few weeks, here's the stuff that we were looking at. We were looking at price to make a new high, come back, retest this level that was there. It's obviously just been taken out in the past couple days, and then give us a new high. Well, it did that almost. Not so much, but kind of, sort of. So it did go ahead and give us a retest of the high, and then it did go ahead and give us a new low though too. All right, so it completely took out this zone right there. So if we turn on our dead zones, you can see there's the dead zone. All right, so it took out that zone, and now it is pushing back up into the highs. All right, so we are still in the middle of an uptrend. Okay, the trender has been flat for some time. It is now starting to curve back up. All right, so I think that is interesting here as well. So could this still be happening? Could all these drawings be still happening? It's just a little bit delayed. Absolutely. You know, could we see record new highs on the indexes, on the U.S. indexes? Absolutely. It may have just taken a little bit longer. You know, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. All right. Is it possible that price could fail to break this high a second time and come back down? Absolutely. Okay. The market can do anything that it wants to do. I just want to take my entries when I'm supposed to. All right. So if I know that I'm in a high zone up here, and I know that I've just touched resistance right here, I know that this would be a counter trend trade. Okay. And I also know that if I was able to buy, and I think I'm actually going to use an arrow tool here. This would be a trend follow trade. So buying low, selling high would be trend follow. And we'll take this one out. So that's kind of how I see that. Okay. So where do you buy low and sell high in this? Well, right now it's not set up to do that. If anything, you might be able to do a counter trend trade here. Okay. But it's not giving us our exact price action that we're looking for right here to get one of those wonderful little diamonds at either. So we just want to be aware of what's going on and see it for what the market is and not what we want to see. Okay, so that is how I see the ES market here. Okay, looking at the gold ETF. Okay, on the big weekly charts, we've been in a nice downtrend, and we have a trend line drawn from a previous high, and we were looking to see if price would come up there and touch it on the weekly level, which sure does look like it did that really nicely. And now it looks like it's zooming down. So on the weekly chart, here's our thinking. So we've seen the trend line bounce, and lo and behold, it has come down here to our support level. Okay, so our forecast has been right so far, and now that we're down here, we're really at this decision point here. Okay, prices come down, and will it continue to go down, or is it going to bounce back up like what this line is? Okay, so that's been really cool to see that perspective play out here, and now we're going to pop up. Okay, or it looks like we're popping up a little bit. We have the big weekly zone here, and we have the daily zone here. All right, we are in a downtrend. So while right now this long position would be a counter trend trade, I feel that the trend follow would be to the downside, and the long position would be to the upside. And I'm going to take this out here, and I'm going to just draw in the lines, or the arrows, okay? And we're going to put in CT for long, okay? So that's what I see happening here. Now, where's a good place to, if the trend is down, where's a good place to sell? Well, we could look more at the daily zone way up there, but we're quite a ways from that. But I really want to be selling at resistance, not selling at support. So I think it's appropriate to wait for the resistance levels, which is where the 60-minute levels are, that are inside the big weekly zone. Okay, so we really got to wait until the weekly zone for sure before even considering the idea of a trend follow short play in the downtrend. Okay, all of this stuff here, this is all counter trend long. All right, so I hope that brings some perspective to things. On the NASDAQ has been moving up very nicely here. It's kind of been the forerunner. So it's moving up, moving up. We saw that price could bounce off of this big blue zone, which is what we've been forecasting, and we haven't seen the retest of this aqua zone up here, which is really where we want to see resistance come in. Instead, a little bit of resistance came in here, okay? Brand new resistance came in, all right? So if brand new resistance is coming in into this level, then things may be changing a little bit here. But because we're in the middle of an uptrend, just because there's an aqua level here, that doesn't mean that this zone is going to hold anything, all right? We are in an uptrend, therefore resistance, even if it's brand new, should break. All right, so we are still, these zones are created unequally to the support levels that are formed in an uptrend. All right, so these levels are weak, the support levels are strong because the trend is with us. So I hope that makes sense to everybody, but that's what I'm looking at for the NQ to have happen. So again, after you've determined that, and I'm going to go ahead and draw out some rulers here. TF to the downside if it gets up there, or a counter trend to the downside if it gets up there, and then we're going to say trend follow to the upside. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. It's kind of right in the middle. I don't really want to be a buyer or a seller in the middle of things right here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to bonds. So what's going on in our bond market? All right, well, this is kind of interesting. We have been in a big weekly range, and we have just seen the bond market make a new low outside of our range. So that is very interesting. So support has not held here. In fact, resistance has held. And we've been in an uptrend for quite some time. So this is definitely new. All right. I'm just going to, I have those weekly levels highlighted. All right, and by having those weekly levels highlighted, I can now see them on this chart over here. So we've beaten this zone. So look at what's happening here. I think this is very, very interesting. The uptrend has failed to happen. The trend is starting to roll over now. And what I would like to see happen is where we've gotten a little bit of support before in the past, we've now had that support level change into resistance right down here. All right. So that is extremely interesting to me. And I would love to see price pop up here and then back down, as I believe that we're starting to see a trend turnover here. So it'll be interesting to see if we get a bounce right here and a new low. I would love to be a seller in this range as it confirms itself. But all that stuff is yet to be seen and is definitely in the future. So let me go ahead and draw in some levels here. So this is TF to the downside and counter trend to the upside. So I want to see this thing, as it's made a new low, I would like to see it come back up, and then we want to see that happen. Okay? Now, what do the longs look like here? Well, you want to buy low and sell high, right? So this is a new low on our chart, and if we know that price is going to come up here, or we think price, I should say, if we think price is going to come up here, maybe you could be a buyer all the way up to this point. Okay. All right. So that is a possibility. And then once it hits that point, well, I'm not sure which one's going to happen. Is it going to bounce like this, or is it going to go through? Could it go up to this next aqua zone? And, the market can do whatever it wants to do. I'm not here to dictate what the market's going to do. I just want to take my setup as it comes. But I see a new trend developing here on ZB. So we will look to see if this happens for confirmation of that. If it doesn't, then the ZB or the bonds can go even higher. So those are my thoughts there on these markets here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop today's presentation, but thank you everybody for watching today. We've hoped that you've gained some perspective in our markets that maybe you did not have 45 minutes ago. But if you like to review with us every single week, we're going to be doing it at the same time every Friday. We want to make sure that this is something that the whole community can enjoy. So thank you everybody for joining me, and we will see you next time.